This video is discussing the 3 consistency keys. So virtually every golfer I've ever worked with expresses the desire to be more consistent, right? We all want to hit our good shots more often. But oftentimes when I ask them, well, what does a consistent golf swing look like? They give me kind of a, I don't know look, and they'll start talking about their grip or their setup or their backswing or whatever. So in this video, I'm going to try to share with you the 3 keys that I look for when I'm looking at consistency. And I'll try to tie in a few of the big movements, how they relate to consistency, as well as some of the kind of old school versions or old school tips that golfers have used in order to develop more consistency and what it actually changes. So the 3 keys in my mind to consistency are looking at swing plane, looking at low point control, and looking at face to path relationship throughout the swing. If you can master those 3 keys, swing plane, low point, face to path, you can usually develop a swing that produces relatively straight shots, relatively solid contact, relatively little curve. And really that's the easiest shot, or that's the most repeatable pattern that I've found with most of my golfers. Golfers who struggle with either their swing plane or their low point control or their face control tend to be less consistent. Golfers who struggle with all 3 of those tend to be really inconsistent and tend to have very poor misses. So in this video, we'll just jump into each of those 3 keys. The first one would be looking at swing plane. So if we're looking from the down the line camera angle, we're basically looking at from about waist height through waist height, where is this club swinging? Is it swinging more along a path going out to the right like this? Is it swinging more along a path going out to in like that? Is it swinging along a path that's very vertical and up and down? Is it swinging along a path that's more shallow or more horizontal? So all those factor into ideally what we're trying to create with our swing plane. Now I can't just stand here and give you a recipe like, okay, set up to the club and draw a line up the shaft, that's exactly where you want it, because that's not really how it works. But it's important to understand that if you have a swing plane that's coming massively in to out, massively out to in, is extremely flat on the way through or extremely upright on the way through, unless you're hitting a club where you want that path, it's going to lead to inconsistency. So somewhere around, if you were to if you put the camera so that it's in line with the back of your hand from this down the line view, and then you were to draw a plane there, it'll typically be a little higher than where it was at setup, and you can use that as a reference from about waist height through to about waist height. If it follows pretty close to that path, you'll tend to have straighter shots. You'll tend to have less dramatic misses. Okay. So that helps with more of the shape of the curve, but that doesn't really help with solidness of contact, especially with your second shots. So you could be dead on plane and shoot a million because you hit 1.5 feet behind the golf ball or you top the ball. So that's where looking at the face on camera and looking at low point control is a big issue. So from the face on camera, now we're looking at low point control. So now we're looking at the width of this circle along whatever path it's swinging on. So I'm looking at, is the circle centered here? Is the circle centered here? Is the circle centered here? Is it more of a squished circle like an ellipse, or is it have a very pronounced kind of high to low contact? A lot of golfers struggle with either getting the club to swing up really quickly or getting the club to swing very narrow on the way through. Golfers who tend to be more consistent with their long game tend to have a wider look through the follow through. The component I measure on 3D is arc width, and I find there's a high correlation between the arc width graph and a golfer's perceived level of consistency. So if I look at this face on view and it's got kind of a nice flat shallow bottom to the swing out in front of the golf ball, and it's really wide, and the down the line has a look that's pretty much on plane, I'm probably going to be pretty consistent in terms of my solidness of contact. Now, as far as the last look or last piece, which is looking at more direction, we're going to look at the face to path relationship. So golfers who tend to be more consistent with their longer game tend to have a little bit faster closing the club face early, and then a little bit slower or more gradual closing of the club face late. Golfers who tend to struggle with start line, so even if it looks like they're on plane and the face on view isn't too bad, then typically what will happen is the club face comes in really open and then tries to square up very late. The rare exception, it will come in very closed and then use some type of chicken wing hold off move on the way through to open it back up. But that typically will also show up from the face on view. So if you're really struggling with consistency, take a look at these three elements. So look at swing plane, because that's absolutely related to consistency of ball flight. Look at low point control and how the arms are either widening or if they're narrowing, and look at the club face control. We'll do a little 9 to 3 where we try to focus on face control, swing plane, and wide point. So the three keys to consistency. I got really good turf contact, maybe just a slight pull because of maybe an upper body lunge, but overall that was a really solid strike demonstrating those three keys. If we did the opposite, or if we did a bad version where I'm going to have a little bit more of a scoop, throw it out and early extend, you can see that I made solid contact luckily on that one, but I struggled with face control because of the way I was controlling the face, more with a flip, less with the motorcycle, and I struggled a little bit with toe contact because of the narrowness on the way through. So as you can see, you can use these two camera looks in order to help really dial in what is causing you problems, whether it be contact, whether it be ball flight, whether it be start line, and now you know the three keys to mastering your individual consistency. Now, originally when I was designing this video, I contemplated adding these last two pieces, but they're a little bit harder to just observe, and that would be looking at kind of tempo and tension. So tempo or sequencing, the more that you use your body early and the arms late, typically that's going to relate to this wide point from the face on view, or this is going to relate to that low point control from the face on view. Typically golfers who have more early arm action and more aggressive arm action will tend to have a little bit more of a flip style or scoop style release. And now you'll see that a flip style or scoop style release becomes a problem because of what it does to low point control and often what it does to the face to path relationship. But you can have a flip style release and still be on plane. So these golfers typically hit the ball relatively straight but complain of contact, complain of distance. In addition, when you have too much tension in your arms, it's really hard to let the club shallow, which means it's really hard to have nice even tempo and nice sequencing. And when the club tends to steepen in transition, it will tend to get shallow late, and so it can cause a swing path or swing plane that gets shifted way out there. Or if you feel that that's going to happen, then it allows you to have more of a wrist roll or kind of more of a swivel style release or flip style release on the way through, where your hands are doing more flexion extension instead of arm extension coupled with a little bit of forearm rotation. So what you'll start to see is that yes, these three things are the three observable ways you can use video to look at your consistency, but you do also want to factor in some of the old school things of tempo and tension, because those can impact or have a profound impact on either one of these key components to consistency. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to master your swing, head over to golfsmartacademy.com, sign up for a free membership, and there you can watch all the videos related to what aspect of consistency you may be struggling with. If you're not quite ready to sign up for a free membership, then please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll be the first to know about it whenever we create new YouTube content just like this.